I mean, when we talked about this before, there was great relief when on the 17th of June the MOU was signed, and it felt like the right pieces breaking out, where in fact it was nothing more than a memorandum of understanding, a statement of intent, as it were. It was never designed to have lots of details in it, and I think that's where it's coming unstuck. But we'll get on to that. In the last week, though, it's been there's been 3 rounds of strikes. It's been increasingly bad. Latest overnight, this bulk carrier vessel, the MV Galaxy, was apparently taking the southern route. When we talk about the Strait of Hormuz, there's very close to Oman, which of course is being reassured by America, but Iran has said no, the northern route past Larak Island is the acknowledged one. They issued warnings, they issued threats, and then they conducted some warning shots. That led to a fire on this ship. The crew abandoned, into life rafts. They've all been rescued fine. But of course, that started a sequence of events then, which was CENTCOM, 140 targets that were then attacked. We were starting to see some of the footage there. As you say, there are drone launch sites, missiles, comms, and all sorts of coastal surveillance. I think what's been happening is that the US, so here's some of the attacks been going on here, and there's several minutes of footage released from CENTCOM here. There's a lot of targets. But I think the point is that the US have been using their satellite, their eyes and ears. They don't know where all the Iranian defences are for the Strait of Hormuz. So every time Iran launches something, they focus on those and give it a hard time. But within hours of that, the IRGC then operated. They seem to have targeted a lot of American bases in the Middle East. You remember we were commenting on some of the energy, striking their energy. Yeah. Doesn't appear they've been doing that. So things like UAE, down the bottom there, you've got the Al Dhafra base, Bahrain, which is the home of the US Navy out there, Qatar for the base of Al Udeid, which I've operated out of in the past, Kuwait and Oman. There's also been some civilian injuries, interesting this time, debris falling from intercepts and the like, and also reports an anti-ship cruise missile being fired as well. All of this with President Trump this week saying the ceasefire is over, escalation. But if we were to go back to war fighting, I just don't understand to what end.
Well, I mean, that's it, isn't it? Because both sides say they want the Strait open. So, I mean, can you put your finger on, I guess, what's the sort of initial spark? What's causing this to spiral and what's causing the aggression?
Yeah, I mean, part of it, I think, is going... We'll come back to the question I can't quite answer, but the MOU that was deliberately designed to be relatively vague, but from both sides, it was get the Strait of Hormuz opened. There were incentives for Iran to go down that route and get it opened. And also, because if they made progress, they were incentivised financially. There was a 14-point plan. I'm sad enough to have a copy, because I'm referring to it all the time, exactly what that includes. But Clause 5 in there specifically talks about Iran doing best efforts to get the Strait open. Now, they've interpreted that as Iran is responsible for it, and therefore, and within 30 days, they pledged that they're going to start demining operations as well. And of course, once the mines are no longer in the region, then you can open up the Strait as normal. There isn't the threat there. And of course, also that leads to the fact that Oman and Iran are then meant to have some talks to work out what you do in the longer period of time. Here's the actual wording of the Islamic Republic of Iran will make arrangements. In other words, it's on them. But of course, the danger here is if Iran thinks they're responsible for the safe passage and America is providing a southern route option in which they're providing military vessels to escort them, Iran goes, hang on a minute, this is against the MOU, therefore they're attacking that ship, and each time that's precipitating a massive reaction along the front. So why are America doing this? Well, frankly, it's not working because any attacks on the commercial vessels is going to stop because insurance just won't play. It seems to be because the US wants to demonstrate that Iran doesn't control the Straits, that America does. But this is meant to be the first step towards peace. And this should have been the easy bit of it. We haven't even talked about the nuclear conversations, which President Trump claimed was the main reason for going for war.
Do you think the US is underestimating Iran in this? I mean, they're pretty tough negotiators. Do you think Trump basically thinks he can kind of railroad and push this through regardless of what Iran thinks?
In a way, I don't think you want to know what I think, because if you go all the way back to the start of this conflict, day one, they took out the Iranian leadership. If they'd stopped then, they'd have had a lot of cards available to play. We've talked before, as a military guy, we've war-gamed this. It comes to exactly the same conclusion. I feel, especially when I was there in Ankara watching President Trump's rather rambling press conference, it doesn't feel like they've got a strategy or a plan at the moment to extract themselves. What you're seeing is frustration by America, and Iran is lapping it up.